Some economists will tell us we're already into a full-fledged recession, and New York City is feeling the brunt of it. Mayor de Blasio says this is the worst financial crisis in the city in half a century, and he has his hand out to President Trump for help.
And if they had $58 billion for the airline industry, I assure you they can find $7.5 billion for the nation's largest city.
With businesses shuttered, that's the amount Mayor de Blasio says he needs to make up for the shortfall of $7.5 billion in lost sales and income tax revenues. That loss, on top of deficits that existed before the pandemic, has left the city in a deep fiscal hole.
If we can't provide the basics for our people, then you can kiss your recovery goodbye.
The dismal financial reality was laid out in the mayor's proposed $89 billion budget for next year, a budget that does not call for any new taxes, but does hold out the prospect of severe cuts.
Where we can cut, we will, but when it comes to protecting New Yorkers, we will not cut that.
The mayor said furloughs and layoffs of municipal workers would be the last resort. But without adequate recovery, the city's unemployment rate could skyrocket, according to the city's independent budget office.
A reasonable scenario would be a loss of about 475,000 jobs.
The city hasn't seen a fiscal crisis quite like this in years, with retail, restaurants, and entertainment segments of our economy hardest hit.
I think you probably have to go back to the 1970s, which was the city's fiscal crisis, to see something this bad.
Back in 1977, the city was on the brink of anarchy and bankruptcy. Businesses were leaving, crime was rampant, but Washington turned a blind eye. George Artz was Mayor Ed Koch's press secretary.
This is reminiscent of the 70s, when city and state leaders went to Washington to beg for money. Hopefully, President Trump will be more receptive than Gerald Ford was.
Mayor de Blasio says he does have some hard choices to make, and he's already had some personal discussions with President Trump. His budget proposal still has to meet final approval with the City Council by the end of June. Reporting from home, I'm Marvin Scott, Pix 11 News.